All right, hi everybody, John Meadows here, and today we're still under quarantine. I still haven't shaved. I still haven't got my hair cut. I know I'm getting pretty crazy looking. We were told that the gyms might open in May, but it looks like that's been shot down. So now maybe we're looking at June. By June, I'm going to look pretty crazy. Anyways, so cardio. A lot of people want to know, since that's one of the only things they can do right now, they can't get into the gyms, like what kind of cardio is best? You know, is it the treadmill? Is it jogging? You know, what exactly is the best kind of cardio? So the first thing I would say is it depends on what your goal is. So when you talk about lifting weights, for example, if you want to be a bodybuilder, you're going to train a certain way. If you're going to be a strongman, you're going to train a certain way. They're not necessarily the same thing. The same thing is true for cardio. So what I'm going to do to simplify the video is basically think about two situations. Situation one is you want to actually increase your cardiorespiratory health. So you want it to just make you more healthy. And then situation number two will just be to cardio in order to help you burn fat, just so you improve your body composition. Now, the reason why I bring those both up is because the approach you're going to take is going to be very different, in my opinion, depending on which one of those goals that you have. And a lot of people probably have some kind of a mixture. Well, I want to be more healthy, but I also want to lose some body fat. So you can kind of mix this up together. You could do like maybe half your sessions one way and half the other way. So let's talk about doing cardio for your health, building your cardiorespiratory health. What's the best type of cardio for that? So the first thing I was thinking back this morning, what bodybuilders, or like when did I first start thinking hard about cardio? And there was a bodybuilder in 1987. This guy's name was Phil Hill. He was from Trenton, New Jersey. I remember watching on ESPN him win the nationals in the heavyweight class, and he was a monster. And I remember when they interviewed him, they asked him about getting in shape, and he was talking about cardiorespiratory health and how he did a little jogging and did a little swimming and all kinds of stuff. And that was the first time I really heard bodybuilders talking about cardiorespiratory health. And he said that you want to really focus on that as well, so just burning body fat. So I looked all morning on YouTube trying to find that old clip from ESPN, but I couldn't find it. Anyways, so that was the first time I'd really heard bodybuilders talk about doing it for health. And as if you are a bodybuilder or someone who trains hard, then obviously it's depending on what you're doing, maybe you need a lot of cardio for your heart health. But what would I do for heart health? So first of all, I want something that really taxes you. Now, getting on a step mill and going real slow, or a treadmill and typing letters to your buddies and everything, that to me doesn't represent hard cardio training. I don't think that's effective for making you more healthy. Is it better than nothing? Sure, it's better than sitting on the couch. But I don't think it's going to be real effective. So number one, I want cardio to be really challenging. So what does that look like? Well, I'm going to come out of the gate and tell you my favorite type of cardio, hard cardio, period. And it's actually swimming. Swimming is so underrated. And I've done a lot of swimming. I've spent a lot of years. I'm actually still a member at Lifetime. I've used their pool a lot. I absolutely love swimming. And there are a number of reasons why I love swimming. It's good for your lung capacity. Lung capacity is a good thing. How much air can you hold in your lungs? Better lung capacity means, you can get more oxygen out into your blood, and you can take more carbon dioxide out. So that exchange is better. But bottom line is it really helps with lung capacity, particularly with the type of breathing patterns that you have when you swim. So you'll notice, I'm sure everybody watching this has swam before. You notice that when you hold your breath when you're swimming, as you keep doing that, you get better at it. You get better and better at it, and that's good. You're building your lung capacity. Or maybe you start off by breathing every 3 strokes during your swim, then maybe every 5, then maybe every 7. But you build your lung capacity, and that's actually a good thing. The other thing I like about swimming is I think it's pretty easy on your joints. If I get a little too crazy with swimming, my shoulders will start to ache a little bit from all the rotation. But by and large, swimming is pretty easy on your joints, certainly compared to going out and running for an hour on a hard surface. So it's pretty easy on your joints. The other thing I like about it, in cardio in general, is your whole body is working. So when you're swimming, you're moving your, and what I always enjoyed about swimming is I got a really good lap pump from it too. A real good lap pump just from the pulling the water. Your shoulders will get a really nice pump too. Actually, your chest gets a nice pump. You're kicking your legs, your hip flexors are working, your abdominals are stabilizing you, your lower back stabilizing you. So it's great for working your whole body. Excellent for that. Now, the other thing, there's a couple other things I want to mention too. Maybe if you're swimming in cold water, you burn some extra calories because your body's heating up, just trying to keep itself warm. But the other thing is when you're leaner, swimming is really hard. Like the more body fat you have, the easier it is to float, right? But when you're really lean, man, you sink like lead, just boom. It's really hard. And that's one of the reasons why it's really hard for bodybuilders is they tend to be leaner than, the average person. So it's very, very difficult. Now, let me just give you some personal experience. So when I do swimming, what I like to do is I like to do true HIIT circuits. And when I say a HIIT circuit, I mean all out. So I'm swimming as fast as I can for 10 or 15 seconds. And then I would tend to just walk a little bit further in the pool for 45 seconds. And then I would boom, hit again, 10, 15 seconds as hard as I can. So it's true HIIT training. Some people kind of go hard and they do it for a minute. That's what I would call interval training. It's not really HIIT training. So when I used to do HIIT training in a swimming pool, it would give me, your throat would be on fire. You felt like you ran a marathon. Very hard on your heart and lungs. They have to work really hard. When I say hard, I mean that in a good way. So that's how I like to swim, where you're putting a lot of effort into it. Now, you could certainly just cruise and do the backstroke. And are you going to get some benefits from that? Yeah. But interestingly enough, this morning I looked up, I thought this would be pretty cool to share with you. So this morning I looked up the different strokes and how many calories you burn. And of course, how many calories you burn is relative. It's really hard to believe just a straight number based on how fast they were going, how many breaks they took. But this is what I wanted to share with you. I thought this was interesting. So for a 140-pound person, this is what they found doing this for an hour. Now, again, I don't know how many breaks they took. It's the stroke, how they get more challenging is what I want you to get out of this. So treading water, 233 calories in an hour. The backstroke, Alexander's actually really good at the backstroke, 305 calories in an hour. The breaststroke, 337 calories. A light freestyle, that's, this way, 369 calories. And you bump up the intensity, moderate, 520 calories in an hour. Freestyle all out, 623 calories an hour. Now, I can only go all out for about 10 or 15 seconds. I'm not sure how many breaks you take and how it would seem like impossible to do that for an hour, but whatever. And then the butterfly, 870 calories in an hour. So the butterfly was always really challenging for me. I actually used to be a lifeguard when I was in junior high school, and that's the one stroke I could never learn. So I do the all-out freestyle. Now, my point in showing you that was you can actually burn a lot of calories. And you could probably add about every 20 pounds of body weight you have, you probably burn an extra 100 calories. As you have more muscle and you weigh more, higher metabolic rate, obviously you're burning more calories. So I love swimming, and that's number one. Number two, you recently saw me almost die from this, and that's the assault bike. When I was training with Lance, the assault bike has a lot of the same things that swimming has. You're using your whole body. I like whole body. It's easy on your joints. Getting on an assault bike and going is very easy on your joints. It's also very easy to replicate that 10 seconds on, 50 seconds off if you want to do that. And again, it's all out for 10 seconds and then 50 seconds off. That's the pattern I like. You could change that slightly. Very, very challenging. And then the harder you pedal, the more wind resistance you have. In the water, you had kind of the water resistance, which is actually why it's a decent for strengthening. People maybe that don't use a lot of weights can actually make them stronger. But so you got the air resistance on that assault bike. It looks like the air is going to feel good, but it actually doesn't make it feel good at all. And then the other thing I would say is, again, it's just easy to do the HIIT training on it. Some machines, like if you get on a step mill, for example, it's really hard to figure out how to go all out for 10 minutes or 10 seconds, and then easy for 50 seconds. Some machines just don't lend themselves well to doing the 10 seconds hard and 50 seconds off protocol I like to use. So the assault bike, that would be my number 2. So I'd have swimming number 1, assault bike number 2. The third one, I'd probably just have the elliptical, because you can do the same stuff in the elliptical. You're moving your whole body. You can do the hit cycles very efficiently. You can just go real fast. Pretty easy on your joints. Very similar to the assault bike. Doesn't quite burn your lungs. It feels like where your lungs are on fire, like the assault bike will do. But very similar. So those are, like, if I wanted to do cardio for health, those are probably the 3 that I would do, and notice the intensity that I would say to do them at. Now, you probably have to work up to that intensity. Going all out is very, very, very difficult. And those exercises are ones that I think you can go all out on. You probably got access to some cardio equipment normally in your gym, and hopefully the pools will be opening up at some point this summer so you can try all this stuff out. But anyways, so those are the 3 things that I would do. Now, I did want to mention some other pieces of cardio equipment that they're okay. Like to take the rower, for example. I used to try rowing over a lifetime, but all it did was kind of fry my lower back just from constantly bending down and bending up on the row. The high incline treadmill work that a lot of people do. I like the high incline stuff, but the problem is you get to a point where it's not so much cardio. Your actual calves and legs start burning. It's like you're doing a weightlifting workout. And the same thing with just like a regular bike where you're just sitting there. I don't like that because you're not really working your upper body. Your upper body's not working. But if you start pedaling really hard, you'll notice your quads you're just on fire. And for cardiorespiratory health, I'd rather you breathe hard. I'd rather you get out of breath and breathe hard instead of just burning a muscle. So that's another consideration to take into mind. So those are so if you want to go that angle for health, those are things that I like to do. Now, let's take a look at the other side. Let's take a look at what if you want to just improve your body composition? What if you just want to look leaner, lose some body fat? Well, my ideas on this probably aren't going to be real popular, but to be honest with you, I think cardio is overrated. Does it work? Of course it works. You burn calories. And at the end of the day, you want to be at a caloric deficit. You want to have more of an expenditure of energy than you have coming in via food. So last week we did the video, we talked about how to get lean, how to get ripped during quarantine. And I specifically talked about taking 10% reductions in calories as your changes that you're implementing, or spreading that out over cardio and nutrition changes. So let me make this more clear. So if you're eating 3,000 calories, then if you want to get leaner, and that's kind of your baseline, then what I said was change it up by 10%. So what I meant by that was 10% of 3,000 is 300. So you could reduce your calories by 300 calories. What I also said was you don't have to do all 10% by removing food. You could do 5% by food. So now you're only removing 150 calories, and you can increase your energy expenditure by 5%. So you want to burn 150 calories. Now, to burn 150 calories, you can walk on a treadmill, you can get on an elliptical, you can do whatever to burn 150 calories. It's not that hard. So when I'm doing that kind of activity, it's really just for calorie burning. It's for no other reason than to put you in a deficit. That's the only reason you're doing it, to change your body composition. You're just trying to get into a deficit. So you can do anything. So I kind of take the different approach of now you don't really need the HIIT stuff. Now, I mean, I guess you can if you want, but here's the problem I see with that. If you're dieting, do you have as much energy as if you're fully fed and you're in a caloric surplus? You usually don't. If you're dieting, a lot of times you're tired. And the key for that HIIT stuff working is for the ability for you to go hard. And you may not have the ability to go really hard. The other thing is the HIIT type training can absolutely impact your recovery. It can absolutely impact your recovery. You do that HIIT style workout on the assault bike, and you might be feeling it the next day. Okay, so what I like about the lower intensity stuff is it doesn't really tap into your recovery. So what's the best? What can you do? I don't really have a preference. I just want you to just go at an easy pace or a moderate pace until you get your calories burned based on getting you into a deficit. So if it's 150 calories, it might take you 45 to 50 minutes on the treadmill going 3 miles an hour. If you're going to swim, maybe you could just lower the intensity and swim a little bit longer. All right, so what kind of cardio do I like personally? Number one, I like to do stuff outside. Honestly, it just feels good to get outside. It feels good to kind of meditate when you do it. It feels good to feel the sun, if the sun's out, hitting you. And I think like when you compare walking and a treadmill, for example, a treadmill's kind of moving your legs for you. I'm not saying it's easy, but at least when you're outside, you're propelling yourself off the pavement while you're walking, and you're putting a little bit more energy into it probably. Now, obviously outside, you don't have an incline that you can adjust. But again, what did I say? You don't need to kill yourself if you're just trying to burn some calories. I'd rather you just walk on a flat surface at a good pace and feel good, right? So walking outside is probably my favorite one. The second one it's probably just riding a bicycle outside. I know it's just your legs, but actually there's a little bit more upper body than you'd think because of the balancing effect of staying balanced on the bike. But again, you're outside, you're feeling good. I spent in the mid 90s when I was competing, I did most of my cardio. I just rode bike outside around the area that I lived in. So I used that approach quite extensively for a couple of years. So that would be my other favorite. And then I would say my third favorite, it's probably more of actually doing like plyometric circuits, believe it or not. If you've ever seen any of my Instagram videos where I'm doing tuck jumps and things like that, I actually like to set up kind of circuits where you're just moving. Now, I didn't say weightlifting circuits. I didn't say like deadlift for a minute straight. That stuff is hard, but you got to be really careful because again, you're tapping into recovery. And also, I don't like people using barbell exercises when they're really tired because their form can go bad and then they're setting themselves up for injuries, overuse, all kinds of stuff like that. So the plyometrics are nice because it's just your body weight. So I'd love to get outside, and preferably if I can do the plyometrics outside, do those outside as well. So riding a bike outside, plyometrics outside, if you can, and walking outside. Those would probably be my three favorites outside. Again, just to kind of summarize where we're at, if you want to just do this stuff for heart health, which is an awesome goal, I'd rather see you go really hard using those three things that I said. Now, you could use you may not have this stuff available to you right now, obviously, but just keep the principles in mind. And then again, if you're just doing it for body composition, remember, if you're doing the 10% reductions based on the calories, like I gave the 3,000 example, like let's say it's a female, let's say she's eating 1,500 calories as her maintenance, and she takes 10% down, 150 calories. So she could change her diet 75 calories down, and then she could increase her exercise to burn 75 calories. That's pretty easy to do, to burn 75 calories, right? So the cardio to change your body composition, I don't think it needs, when I see people doing like 3 hours of cardio, I'm like, man, you're not really burning that many calories. People like to show on the machines where I just burned 800 calories or 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 calories. I'm not sure I believe a lot of those machines when they say that, or else these people would be in massive deficits and losing weight like crazy. But anyways, so I hope this gives you a little better idea of, what kind of cardio generally will work for you depending on your goals. So everybody keep your heads up. Quarantine will be over sometime, hopefully in the next month or two, it'll at least be opening up. And we'll get all those videos we have on backlog with Juji and Jeff Nippert and Hunter Labrada and all these guys. Hopefully we'll get those back out to you so you can see them. Until next time, we'll see you later.